Africa, a continent rich in cultural diversity, historical depth, and abundant natural resources, faces the persistent challenge of governance. For decades, many African countries have adopted Western governance models with varying degrees of success. However, there is a growing argument that Africa should develop and adopt its unique governance style, rooted in its traditions, values, and socio-political realities. This book explores why Africa should pursue this path and how it could lead to more authentic leadership and sustainable development. Yo, have you ever tried on someone else's clothes? Maybe it was for a costume party or just for a laugh with friends. Like your friend's suit for a laugh, you know, the one that's either too big or too small, and you end up looking like a kid playing dress up. It never fits right. Too tight here, baggy there. You feel awkward. You can't move properly and it just feels off. That's kind of what happened with governance in a lot of Africa. When colonial powers left, they handed over systems that were never designed for the local context. After the Europeans left, they said, here's how to run things, and handed over systems built for their own history, not Africa's unique and diverse needs. These systems were often rigid, bureaucratic, and didn't take into account the rich tapestry of cultures and traditions that existed on the continent. For centuries, the continent wasn't a monolith, right? It was a mosaic of different societies, each with its own way of doing things. It was a tapestry of kingdoms, empires, with their own ways of making decisions, keeping order. These systems were tailored to their specific needs and contexts. Some were messy, some were brilliant, but they were solutions that worked for the people who lived there. They were organic, evolving over time to meet the needs of their societies. These systems were not perfect, but they were homegrown and had a certain legitimacy because they were rooted in local traditions and practices. Then colonialism steamrolled in, imposed its own ideas, and that's where the suit starts pinching. The new systems were often alien and didn't fit the local context. Fast forward to independence, everyone's excited. There was a sense of hope and possibility, a belief that things could finally be done differently. But the new leaders, they inherited those same structures. They were handed a suit that didn't fit, and they were expected to make it work. Elections, parliaments, the whole shebang. On the surface, it looked like progress, but underneath, the old issues remained. On paper, it looked modern, but underneath, it was often the same old power dynamics, just dressed up in new clothes. Often, it was the same old power games, just with new players. The structures were there, but they didn't always function as intended, so yeah, this legacy is complicated, full of contradictions. The borrowed suit of governance sometimes worked, but often it didn't. Some places, the borrowed suit kinda worked, others, it ripped at the seams. The mismatch between the system and the local context led to all sorts of issues. Let's unpack this, shall we? Let's dive deeper into how these mismatched systems came to be and what can be done to tailor governance to better fit the diverse needs of African societies. We'll explore examples of where local solutions have been found, where traditional practices have been integrated into modern governance, and where innovation is leading the way. Because at the end of the day, governance should be about serving the people, not forcing them into an ill-fitting suit. It's about finding the right fit, one that allows for growth, flexibility, and true representation. So, let's get into it. Let's see how Africa is finding its own fit in the world of governance, one that respects its past and looks forward to its future. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kelvin Jasi. Like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going.
Imagine this. For decades, your whole life is controlled by outsiders. Every aspect of your existence is dictated by people who don't share your culture, your values, or your dreams. They decide what you grow, where you work, even what you can believe. Your land, your labor, your very identity is under their control. Then boom, they pack up and say, okay, you're free. Oh, by the way, run the place like we did. No guidance, no transition, just a sudden shift from total control to supposed freedom. That's the mess colonialism left behind. A society structured to serve the colonizers' needs, now expected to function independently without the tools or experience to do so. It wasn't just about taking resources, it was about rewiring societies from the inside out. Traditional leaders sidelined. Their authority and systems of governance were systematically dismantled. Community decision-making replaced with top-down orders. The communal ways of resolving issues and making decisions were replaced by rigid hierarchical structures. The whole point was to make Africa easier to exploit, not empower it. The infrastructure, the laws, the education systems, all were designed to benefit the colonizers. Now, independence movements were heroic, don't get me wrong. Brave men and women fought tirelessly for their freedom, often at great personal cost. But often, the people who led the charge were those most steeped in the colonizers' system. They had been educated in colonial schools, trained in colonial ways of thinking. They knew the language, the laws, but sometimes not their people's needs as well. This created a gap between the leaders and the masses they were supposed to serve. So you get this weird disconnect, shiny new constitutions promising equality, justice. But the old habits of power, of exploiting divisions, they lingered. The promises of the new documents often clashed with the entrenched realities on the ground. The divisions that had been exploited by the colonizers didn't just disappear, they continued to influence politics, economics, and social relations. Land ownership, access to education, it still favored the connected few, often along lines drawn by the colonizers themselves. The inequalities that had been institutionalized were hard to dismantle. This isn't to say nothing good happened after independence. There were genuine efforts to build fair systems to uplift the people. Leaders and citizens alike worked hard to create a better future. There were attempts to establish schools, healthcare systems, and fair governance structures. These efforts were driven by a desire to improve the lives of ordinary people. But that colonial legacy, it cast a long shadow, made the ground uneven for anything truly African to take root. The struggle to create systems that reflected African values and needs was, and still is, a monumental task. Communities had to come together, often starting from scratch, to rebuild their societies. This required immense resilience and creativity. There was also a cultural revival, a reclaiming of identity. Art, music, and traditions that had been suppressed began to flourish again. The youth played a crucial role, engaging in political activism and pushing for change. They were determined to shape a future that was truly their own. Women, too, were at the forefront, leading community initiatives and advocating for gender equality. Their contributions were vital in the nation-building process. Regional collaboration also became important, with nations working together to address common challenges and promote development. On the international stage, African leaders began to assert their presence, advocating for their country's interests and seeking partnerships that respected their sovereignty. The African diaspora also played a role, contributing skills, knowledge, and resources to support development back home. Celebrating cultural heritage became a way to strengthen national identity and pride. Festivals, ceremonies, and educational programs helped to reconnect people with their roots. Overcoming the challenges of the post-colonial era required perseverance and innovation. It was a journey of rediscovery and rebuilding, of turning imposed rules into the true independence. Today, the journey continues. African nations are looking towards a hopeful future, determined to create societies that reflect their values, aspirations, and dreams.
Okay, time for a reality check. Saying Western governance is like saying African food. It's a huge continent with tons of variation. Just look at Botswana and Zimbabwe. Both got independence around the same time, both inherited similar British-style systems. Botswana, they found diamonds. Now that could have gone the way of many resource-rich countries, corrupt elites stuffing their pockets, leaving everyone else in the dust. But Botswana, they did something unexpected. They invested in education, healthcare, built strong institutions. Not perfect, but they used that diamond money to benefit not just the powerful. Zimbabwe, different story. Robert Mugabe, the leader after independence, he went the strongman route. Land redistribution that sounded good on paper but was often violent and chaotic. Opposition silenced, economy tanked. Same starting point as Botswana, wildly different outcome. This proves what? That it's not about the model of governance, it's about leadership, about context. Botswana showed it's to use Western-style systems for good, but it takes serious commitment and frankly a bit of luck.
Ghana. They've been called the golden child of African democracy. Regular elections, peaceful transitions of power. It's impressive. Ghana has set a benchmark for many other African nations, showing that democracy can indeed take root and flourish on the continent. But even there, it's not all sunshine and roses. Beneath the surface, there are cracks that need attention. See, Elections are just one piece of the puzzle. Democracy is more than just casting a vote. It's about the integrity of the entire system. You can have people voting, but if the underlying systems are rigged, if corruption is rampant, then your vote doesn't mean much. It's like a beautiful facade hiding a crumbling structure. It's like choosing between different flavors of the same stale bread. No matter the choice, the core issue remains unchanged. Ghana's got this problem with clientelism. This isn't just a minor issue, it's a significant barrier to true democratic progress. Politicians hand out cash, favors, not based on good policies, but on who's loyal, who's from their tribe, their region. This creates a cycle of dependency and loyalty that stifles genuine political competition. Its short-term thinking undermines long-term progress. Leaders focus on immediate gains to secure their positions rather than planning for sustainable development. And then there's the youth. They are the future, the ones who will inherit the consequences of today's decisions. Ghana's got a young population hungry for change. They are eager to see new faces, new ideas, and a break from the old ways. But they see the same old faces, the same old problems, and they're losing faith in the system. Their frustration is palpable, and it's growing. They're like, yo, this democracy thing, is it really working for us? They question the effectiveness of a system that seems to promise much, but delivers little. So, Ghana shows us that even when the Western model seems to work, it needs constant tweaking, adapting. The Western model of democracy isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It requires customization to fit the unique cultural and social contexts of each nation. Ignoring the deeper issues, the social contracts that need rewriting, it's a recipe for stagnation, even instability down the line. True democracy requires more than just elections. It demands a commitment to justice, equality, and the rule of law. Without addressing these foundational issues, the dance of democracy will always be one step forward, two steps sideways.
Africa, with its diverse cultures and histories, offers a unique perspective on governance that predates modern systems. Traditional governance in Africa was not just about ruling, it was about nurturing a community, managing resources wisely, and resolving conflicts amicably. Exploring these ancient systems provides not only a deeper understanding of African heritage, but also insights into sustainable leadership practices. By studying these structures, we can appreciate the complexities and the profound sense of community they fostered. These systems were deeply intertwined with the social, economic, and spiritual lives of the people. They were built on principles that emphasize the welfare of the community over the individual, a stark contrast to some aspects of modern governance. This exploration is not just academic, it's a journey into the heart of African society, where every decision was a communal act, and every leader was a servant first. Understanding these roots helps to appreciate the present and innovate for the future. In today's rapidly globalizing world where leadership often seems disconnected from the masses, traditional African governance systems offer a refreshing model focused on inclusivity and collective well-being. The relevance of these systems extends beyond historical interest. They provide viable frameworks for contemporary leadership and governance. This essay delves into the rich tapestry of African governance, exploring its core principles and their applicability to today's challenges. As we proceed, we will explore specific elements such as the roles of kings and councils, the process of community-based decision-making, and the profound impact of the Ubuntu philosophy. Each of these components played a crucial role in shaping not only governance, but also the societal values that are evident in African communities today. In pre-colonial Africa, kings and councils were symbols of unity and cultural identity. Kings, seen as semi-divine, embodied the state's continuity and morale. They were custodians of culture, tradition, and spiritual well-being. Councils of elders advised kings, ensuring decisions reflected community wisdom. Composed of respected elders, their approval legitimized decisions. This balance of power promoted governance based on consensus. It maintained social harmony and political stability. The structure of kingship and councils varied widely across Africa. For instance, the Zulu king had immense authority but relied on his council for guidance. Community-based decision-making is a hallmark of traditional African governance. This process is not about quick resolutions, but about finding solutions that have communal consent and support. It involves the active participation of all members of the community, from the youngest to the oldest, ensuring that every voice is heard and considered. Elder, this inclusive approach helps build strong communal bonds and ensures that decisions are widely accepted and more likely to be successful. The benefits of this approach are manifold. Firstly, it encourages transparency in governance, as decisions are made openly with the involvement of the entire community. This transparency builds trust between leaders and the people, crucial for any effective governance system. Secondly, it allows for a diverse range of ideas and solutions to emerge, leading to more innovative and effective outcomes. Community member. Moreover, by involving the community in decision-making, leaders ensure that the decisions are grounded in the realities and needs of the people. This process also serves as a tool for education and empowerment. As community members engage in governance, they learn about the issues at hand, the complexities of managing communal life, and the importance of collaboration and compromise. This educational aspect helps cultivate future leaders within the community, ensuring that governance skills and democratic values are passed down through generations. In practice, community-based decision-making can be seen in the traditional village meetings, or barazas, common in many African societies. During these gatherings, everyone from village elders to young adults can express their opinions and contribute to the discussions. Decisions are not finalized until a consensus is reached, reflecting the collective will and wisdom of the community. By adopting the principles of Ubuntu, communities can create sustainable and inclusive systems that are capable of adapting to new challenges while staying true to their cultural heritage. Such practices not only resolve conflicts, but also restore harmony and trust within the community. Furthermore, Ubuntu extends beyond mere governance. It is a way of life that influences all aspects of society, from education and economics to conflict resolution and environmental stewardship. Ubuntu also influences the legislative processes within communities. Laws and regulations developed under the influence of Ubuntu are designed to promote fairness and collective welfare. This can be seen in the traditional practice of restorative justice, which seeks to heal and rebuild relationships rather than merely punish offenders. It promotes a leadership style that is empathetic, responsible, and service-oriented. Leaders who embody Ubuntu are more likely to act in the best interest of their communities, striving to ensure that no one is left behind. This approach not only enhances social cohesion but also strengthens the community's resilience in facing challenges, whether they be economic, social, or environmental. Ubuntu fosters a spirit of cooperation and mutual support that is essential for effective governance. It encourages leaders and citizens alike to prioritize the common good over personal gain, creating a more equitable and harmonious society. The impact of Ubuntu on governance is profound. Section 4, Ubuntu, a foundation for governance. Ubuntu, a philosophy often summarized by the phrase, "I am because we are," is a cornerstone of traditional African governance. This philosophy emphasizes the interconnectedness of all people and the belief that a community's success is integral to an individual's well-being.
Section 5, Elders, the custodians of wisdom and respect. In many African cultures, elders are revered not only for their age but for their wisdom and experience. They play a crucial role in governance, often serving as mediators, advisors, and educators. The respect for elders is not merely a cultural tradition, but a fundamental aspect of governance that ensures continuity and stability within the community.
Elders provide a link to the past, maintaining and passing down cultural values and traditions that help shape community identity and cohesion. Their involvement in governance is multifaceted.
Elders often preside over community meetings, ensuring that discussions are conducted respectfully and that traditional protocols are followed. Their deep knowledge of history and custom allows them to advise on matters ranging from land disputes to marriage and social welfare. This guidance helps maintain a moral and ethical framework within the community, which is essential for effective governance.
Moreover, the respect for elders encourages a form of leadership that is based on merit and wisdom rather than on wealth or power. This helps prevent the rise of despotic leaders and ensures that those in positions of authority are well respected and have the community's best interests at heart.
The influence of elders also serves as a check on the power of younger leaders, providing a balancing force that promotes stability and thoughtful decision-making. The value placed on elders also fosters intergenerational dialogue, ensuring that the wisdom of the past is integrated with the innovation of the present.
This dialogue is crucial for sustainable development, as it allows for the adaptation of traditional practices to contemporary challenges. By valuing the experience of elders, communities can leverage their historical insights while forging paths towards modernization and development. Section 6. Contemporary Relevance Integrating Ancient Wisdom. The principles of traditional African governance, community involvement, respect for elders, and the Ubuntu philosophy are not relics of the past, but vital resources for the present and future. In a world grappling with issues of leadership legitimacy, social inequality, and community disintegration, these principles offer sustainable alternatives. By integrating the wisdom of traditional governance systems into modern practices, societies can achieve more inclusive, equitable, and effective governance. Today, there are numerous examples of traditional governance mechanisms being adapted to modern contexts. For instance, community-based approaches are being employed in urban planning and environmental conservation, demonstrating the enduring relevance of these practices. Similarly, the concept of Ubuntu is being integrated into corporate and organizational cultures around the world, promoting teamwork, respect, and a shared sense of purpose. Moreover, the global challenges of the 21st century, such as climate change, migration, and technological disruption, require cooperative and adaptive leadership styles. The collaborative and community-focused nature of traditional African governance provides a blueprint for such leadership. It encourages a holistic approach that considers the well-being of all stakeholders, ensuring that development is sustainable and just. In conclusion, the rich heritage of African governance offers more than just historical insights. It provides practical lessons for contemporary leadership and community building. By embracing these time-tested principles, societies can cultivate governance systems that are not only effective, but also deeply rooted in the values of equity, community, and mutual respect. As the world becomes increasingly interconnected, the universal appeal of these principles can help foster a more inclusive and harmonious global community. Yo, let's talk about Africa, specifically the whole Western models thing. For decades, there's been this push to implement Western-style democracy, economics, and even social norms in Africa. Like copy-paste from London to Lagos, Paris to Pretoria. But here's the thing. Africa's got its own vibe, its own history, its own way of doing things. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't quite work. This isn't about saying one way is better. It's about recognizing that different contexts need different approaches. We've seen this play out in so many ways, from political systems that struggle to gain traction to economic policies that don't always translate. And let's not even get started on the cultural clashes. It's time to have a real conversation about what works, what doesn't, and why. This ain't about bashing the West. It's about understanding that development, real sustainable development, needs to come from within. It needs to be grounded in the realities of a place and its people.
Bureaucracy and bribes when systems backfire. Another challenge? Bureaucracy. The West loves its systems, its processes, its paperwork. But in many African countries, these systems, often implemented with the best of intentions, become bogged down in inefficiency and corruption. Think about it. You've got a system where getting anything done requires jumping through hoops and filling out forms in triplicate. For people struggling to put food on the table, that's not just inconvenient, it's a recipe for desperation. And where there's desperation, there's often a willingness to take shortcuts, to pay a little something extra to grease the wheels. This isn't about excusing corruption. It's about acknowledging that systems designed in one context don't always translate well to another. Sometimes the very structures meant to promote fairness and transparency end up having the opposite effect.
Economic disparity, a global game with uneven playing fields. Let's talk economics. Western nations often push for free trade and open markets in Africa. Sounds good on paper, right? But it's not that simple. See, when you've got developed economies with centuries of wealth accumulation playing on the same field as developing economies, the game is rigged from the start. Imagine a foot race where one runner gets a head start, the best shoes, and a personal coach, while the other is barefoot and starting miles behind. That's kind of what it's like. African nations often end up exporting raw materials at low prices, then importing finished goods at much higher prices, creating a cycle of dependency. This isn't about shutting out global trade. It's about recognizing the need for fairness, for a level playing field. It's about supporting African nations in developing their own industries, adding value to their resources, and ultimately charting their own economic destinies.
A more nuanced approach, building bridges, not walls. Look, this isn't about saying Western bad, Africa good. It's about recognizing that development is not a one-size-fits-all endeavor. It's about moving beyond simplistic solutions and embracing complexity. We need to move away from this idea of imposing models and start thinking about building partnerships. Partnerships based on mutual respect, understanding, and a genuine desire to see Africa thrive on its own terms. This means listening to African voices, supporting African innovation, and recognizing that the solutions to Africa's challenges will ultimately come from Africa itself. It's about building bridges, not walls, and working together to create a future where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. Africa's own way. Why traditional governance matters. Yo, Africa! We've got something special going on, and it's time we talk about it. We're talking about the way we govern ourselves, the way we always have. It's not always perfect, but it's ours. It's rooted in our history, our values, our cultures. For centuries, long before suits and ties showed up, African societies thrived under their own systems. These systems weren't about power trips. They were about community, respect, and balance. Think about it, chiefs, elders, councils, all working together to make sure things ran smoothly. But then came colonialism, like that unwanted guest who overstays their welcome. They tried to replace our systems with theirs. Suddenly, it was all about paperwork and bureaucracy, things that felt foreign to our people. But you know what? We never fully let go of our ways. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for progress. But real progress means building on what we already have, not erasing it. It's time we reclaim our heritage, our indigenous governance models, and show the world what Africa is truly capable of. Let's talk leadership African style. We've all seen those leaders, the ones who just don't get it. They preach unity but live in their ivory towers. But then you have the real deal, the leaders who are cut from a different cloth. They don't just talk the talk, they walk it. They lead with humility, with respect, with a deep understanding of what their communities need. These leaders don't see themselves as above the people. They see themselves as part of the people. When you have a leader who genuinely cares, that's when you see real change happen. Life in Africa is all about community. We celebrate, mourn, and lift each other up. It's in our DNA. Our traditional governance systems make this bond stronger. Built on collective responsibility, everyone has a role. It's about Ubuntu understanding we are all connected, promoting dialogue and consensus building for solutions, emphasizing restorative justice, healing the community. This shared responsibility makes us resilient. We face challenges together as one. We Africans have always had a deep connection with nature. It's in our blood. For centuries, our ancestors have lived in harmony with the land. They managed natural resources sustainably, ensuring enough for everyone. This knowledge is passed down through generations. Rotational grazing, sacred groves, and water management techniques. These are sophisticated systems modern science is beginning to appreciate. We have a lot to teach in a world grappling with climate change. By integrating these practices, we can create a sustainable future. Section 5. Keeping the peace. Traditional conflict resolution. Let's be honest, conflict is a part of life. Whether it's a family feud, a land dispute, or a clash between communities, disagreements happen. But here's the thing, our traditional governance systems have a way of dealing with conflict that's different, more effective. Instead of resorting to courts and lawyers, which can be costly and time-consuming, these systems prioritize dialogue, reconciliation, and finding solutions that work for everyone involved. It's about bringing people together, listening to all sides of the story, and finding common ground.
Elders, respected members of the community, often play a key role in this process. They act as mediators, guiding the conversation with wisdom and understanding. The goal isn't to punish the guilty, but to restore harmony, to heal the wounds that divide. This focus on restorative justice, this emphasis on community healing, is something the world can learn from. It's about recognizing that true peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of justice and understanding.
Section 6. Ubuntu in action, real-life examples of African governance. Okay, enough talk. Let's get real and see Ubuntu in action. Across Africa, communities are breathing life back into their traditional governance systems. Take, for example, the Gakaka courts in Rwanda. After the genocide, they helped communities heal and rebuild by emphasizing forgiveness and reconciliation. It wasn't easy, but it was their way, their path to peace.
Then there's the Botswana's Kotla system, where everyone, from the humblest farmer to the village chief, sits in a circle and has their say. It's direct democracy, raw and unfiltered. And guess what? It works. These are just a few examples of how traditional governance is making a comeback. From forest management in Ethiopia to water conservation in Zimbabwe, communities are rediscovering the wisdom of their ancestors and using it to tackle modern challenges.
Section 7. The legacy of colonialism, challenges and roadblocks. Let's not sugarcoat it, the journey to reclaim our indigenous governance systems isn't without its bumps. Colonialism left its mark, man. It's like that ex who keeps trying to tell you what to do even after you've broken up. They imposed their systems, their laws, their way of thinking. They undermined our traditional authorities, our chiefs, our elders. They made us believe that our ways were backwards, that progress meant abandoning our roots.
They even drew borders that made no sense, dividing communities and igniting conflicts that continue to this day. And let's not forget about neocolonialism, the sneaky cousin of colonialism. It's the corporations, the international organizations, even some governments that still try to dictate how we should run our affairs. They offer aid with one hand and control with the other. But here's the thing, we're onto them. We're waking up, reclaiming our power and saying, thanks, but no thanks, we'll do it our way.
Section 8. Reclaiming our roots, the resurgence of traditional systems. Here's the good news. Across Africa, there's a resurgence of interest in traditional governance. It's like that old school vinyl collection that's suddenly cool again. People are realizing that our ancestors were onto something, that their ways of governing were rooted in wisdom and a deep understanding of community. You see it everywhere. Governments are incorporating traditional practices into their policies. Communities are reviving ancient rituals and customs.
Young people are eager to learn from their elders, to bridge the gap between generations. This isn't about romanticizing the past. It's about recognizing the value of what we have, the wisdom that's embedded in our cultures. It's about adapting these systems to the challenges of the 21st century, making them relevant and effective for generations to come. And you know what's fueling this resurgence? It's us, the people. We're reclaiming our narrative, rewriting the story of Africa. We're showing the world that our traditional governance systems are not relics of the past. They're the key to a brighter future.
Section 9. Global lessons, what the world can learn from Africa. Here's the thing, Africa isn't just a continent, it's a classroom. The world has a lot to learn from us, especially when it comes to governance. We're talking about systems that have been tested by time, systems that prioritize community, sustainability, and peace.
Think about it. In a world obsessed with individualism, we offer Ubuntu, the understanding that we are all connected. In a world grappling with environmental destruction, we offer traditional knowledge about living in harmony with nature. In a world plagued by conflict, we offer restorative justice and reconciliation. Our traditional governance systems aren't perfect, but they offer a different way of thinking about leadership, about community, about our relationship with the planet. They remind us that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the past. Sometimes it means rediscovering it. So, to the world, we say, come, listen, learn. Let's build a future together, a future inspired by the wisdom of Africa.
Section 10. A brighter future. Embracing indigenous governance for prosperity. Imagine an Africa where traditional governance systems are not just respected but embraced. Imagine a continent where leaders govern with the consent and participation of their people, where decisions are made with the well-being of both present and future generations in mind.
Imagine communities managing their natural resources sustainably, ensuring that everyone has access to clean water, fertile land, and a healthy environment. Imagine conflicts resolved through dialogue and reconciliation, where justice is served and communities are healed. This isn't just a dream, it's a vision for the future, a future where Africa's potential is unleashed by embracing its own unique way of governing. It's a future where we draw upon the wisdom of our ancestors to create a more just, equitable, and prosperous continent for all. This is the promise of indigenous governance, a promise of a brighter future for Africa and for the world.
Section 11. Conclusion. A call to action for authentic African leadership. So here we are at the crossroads. We can continue down the path paved by others, a path that often leads to dead ends. Or we can choose a different path, one that leads us back to ourselves, to our roots, to our own unique way of governing. This is a call to action, a call to embrace our indigenous governance systems, to reclaim our heritage, and to shape a future that reflects our values, our aspirations, our dreams. To our leaders, we say, lead with humility, with respect, with a deep understanding of our cultures. Listen to the people, value their wisdom, and govern with their consent. To our communities, we say, stand together, support each other, and revive the traditions that have sustained us for generations. The future of Africa is in our hands. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose our own way. Africa's got next, why old ways can build a new future. Yo, Africa, we out here. They see the struggles, but they miss the strength, the resilience, our traditions, our cultures. Values passed down from generation to generation. Tradition is the foundation we build the future on. Africa's got a bright future ahead. Combining ancestral wisdom with modern ideas creates magic. Solutions that work for Africa, by Africa. Rwanda, healing the nation, one community at a time. After the horrors of the 1994 genocide, Rwanda could have easily descended into chaos and despair. But instead of succumbing to the darkness, they chose a different path, one of healing, reconciliation, and unity. And they did it by drawing on the strength of their traditions. Now, Rwanda's not perfect, nobody is. But what they've accomplished in a relatively short amount of time is remarkable. They've made incredible strides in rebuilding their nation, and a big part of that success comes from understanding the power of community. See, in many African cultures, the community is everything. It's the glue that holds society together. It's where we find support, guidance, and a sense of belonging. Rwanda recognized this and tapped into that deep well of communal strength to heal their wounds and rebuild their country. They understood that true justice couldn't just be about punishment. Gakaka courts, justice with a human touch. Okay, so imagine this. Instead of cold, impersonal courtrooms, justice is served out in the open, under the shade of a tree. Elders, respected members of the community, act as judges, hearing cases involving crimes committed during the genocide. Victims and perpetrators face each other directly, sharing their stories, their pain, their truths. This is Gakaka, a traditional Rwandan system of community-based justice that was revived and adapted to help the nation heal after the genocide. Now I know what you're thinking, wait, community justice for genocide? Isn't that a bit much? And it's a valid concern. But here's the thing, Gakaka wasn't about letting people off the hook. It was about acknowledging the gravity of the crimes while also recognizing the need for healing and reconciliation. It was about giving victims a platform to share their stories, to be heard, to confront those who had wronged them. And for perpetrators who were willing to confess and express remorse, it offered a path towards redemption and reintegration into the community. Was it perfect? No. Umuganda, building Rwanda, brick by brick. Now let's talk about Umuganda. Every last Saturday of the month, Rwandans from all walks of life, doctors, farmers, teachers, politicians, down tools and come together for a day of community service. We're talking cleaning streets, building schools, planting trees, the whole 9 yards. It's like a nationwide block party. But instead of just chilling, they're actually getting stuff done. Umuganda isn't just about keeping Rwanda clean and tidy though. It's about something much deeper. It's about fostering a sense of shared responsibility, of unity, of working together to build a better future for everyone. It's about reminding each other that they're all in this together, that they're all Rwandans, regardless of their differences. And the best part? It's working. Umuganda has played a significant role in Rwanda's post-genocide reconstruction, not just physically but also socially. It's helped to rebuild trust, to bridge divides, to create a sense of shared purpose. It's a powerful example of how traditional values like community service can be harnessed to create positive social change. Next up, we're heading over to Botswana, a country that's often hailed as an African success story, and for good reason. They've managed to build a stable democracy and a thriving economy, all while holding on to their cultural heritage. How do they do it? By recognizing that tradition and modernity aren't mutually exclusive. They can and should coexist and complement each other. Botswana understands that its greatest resource isn't just the diamonds beneath its soil, but the people who live on it.
And those people have a rich cultural heritage that includes strong traditional leadership structures. Instead of trying to erase or sideline these structures, Botswana decided to integrate them into its modern system of governance.
So how does this whole chief meets CEO thing actually work in practice? Well, in Botswana, traditional leaders play an active role in local governance. They sit on land boards, they mediate disputes, they provide guidance on cultural matters, and they act as a bridge between the government and the people. They're like the OG community organizers, deeply connected to the people they serve, understanding their needs and aspirations. And because they command respect and legitimacy within their communities, they're often more effective than outsiders at resolving conflicts and building consensus.
But it's not just about keeping the peace and maintaining order. Botswana's traditional leaders also play a crucial role in its economic development. They're involved in decisions about land use, natural resource management, and tourism development. They bring their knowledge of the local context to the table, ensuring that development projects are sustainable, culturally sensitive, and benefit the entire community.
It's a win-win situation. The government gets valuable insights from trusted local leaders, and communities benefit from development that respects their traditions and way of life. It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Now, let's hop over to West Africa and visit Ghana, the land of cocoa beans, high-life music, and vibrant cultural traditions. Ghana's another shining example of a country that's embracing its heritage while building a modern democracy. And a big part of that heritage is the chieftaincy system. For centuries, chiefs have played a vital role in Ghanaian society, acting as custodians of their people's history, culture, and traditions.
They're more than just figureheads. They're seen as the embodiment of their communities, responsible for their well-being and prosperity. And just like in Botswana, Ghana recognizes the importance of integrating this traditional system of leadership into its modern governance structures. In Ghana, chiefs aren't relics of the past. They're active participants in the present, working alongside elected officials to address the needs of their communities. They sit on traditional councils, advising on matters related to land use, conflict resolution, and cultural preservation. They act as a bridge between the government and the people, ensuring that policies are implemented effectively and that the concerns of local communities are heard. And because chieftaincy is hereditary, it provides a sense of continuity and stability that's often lacking in the cutthroat world of modern politics.
But Ghana's chieftaincy system isn't without its critics. Some argue that it's undemocratic, that it perpetuates inequality, and that it's ripe for abuse. And those are valid concerns. But Ghana's experience shows that it's possible to reform and adapt traditional institutions to make them more accountable and responsive to the needs of a changing society.
Now let's talk about festivals. Ghana is famous for its vibrant and colourful festivals, which celebrate everything from harvest seasons to historical events to the wonders of nature. But these festivals are more than just an excuse to eat, drink, and be merry. They're an integral part of Ghanaian culture, serving important social, economic, and spiritual purposes. Festivals like Homowo, Bakatue, and Aboakia bring communities together, strengthening social bonds and reinforcing a sense of shared identity. They provide a platform for showcasing traditional music, dance, and storytelling, keeping these art forms alive for future generations. And they attract tourists from all over the world, boosting local economies and promoting cross-cultural understanding.
Ghana recognizes the power of these festivals and has taken steps to support and promote them. They've invested in infrastructure to accommodate the influx of visitors. They've partnered with local communities to develop sustainable tourism initiatives, and they've created platforms for showcasing Ghanaian culture to the world. So what can we learn from the experiences of Rwanda, Botswana, and Ghana? Simple tradition isn't a barrier to progress. In fact, it can be the key to unlocking Africa's true potential. When we combine the wisdom of our ancestors with modern ideas and practices, we create solutions that are uniquely African and uniquely effective. Whether it's community-based justice, traditional leadership, or vibrant cultural festivals, African countries are finding innovative ways to embrace their heritage while building a brighter future. It's about recognizing that development isn't just about economic growth, it's about building societies that are just, equitable, and rooted in the values that define us as Africans. It's about understanding that we don't have to choose between tradition and modernity. Africa is on the rise. We're a continent brimming with potential, with a young and dynamic population, with a spirit of innovation and resilience that's been forged over centuries. But to truly realize our potential, we need to embrace who we are. We need to draw on the strength of our traditions, the wisdom of our elders, the creativity of our youth. We need to tell our own stories, define our own narratives, and chart our own course. The world is watching, and they're starting to realize that Africa isn't just a place to extract resources or provide aid. It's a place where innovation is happening, where solutions are being created, where the future is being written. So let's show them what we're capable of. Let's build on the successes of Rwanda, Botswana, Ghana, and countless other African nations that are proving that tradition and modernity aren't mutually exclusive. Africa is on the move. We've got the people, the resources, and the drive. What we need now is leadership that reflects our values and aspirations. That's what authentic governance is all about. Leadership that comes from within, built on African solutions for African challenges. For too long, we've been told to follow models from elsewhere, models that don't always fit our realities. It's time to chart our own course, one that draws on our rich history and diverse cultures. This isn't about rejecting the outside world, it's about embracing who we are. Authentic governance means having leaders who understand our struggles, who listen to our voices, and who are accountable to us. It means building systems that are transparent and fair, where everyone has a seat at the table. This is how we create a future where every African can thrive. This is Africa's moment. Let's seize it together. Imagine a circle, not just any circle, but a circle of decision-making, where everyone has a place. That's what inclusivity in governance looks like. It means no one is left out, no matter their tribe, religion, gender, or background. In Africa, our diversity is our strength. We've got so many voices, so many perspectives, so much to offer. Inclusivity is about harnessing that power, ensuring that everyone feels heard and valued. When everyone has a say, we make better decisions, stronger communities, and a more united continent. This means going beyond just having elections. It's about creating spaces for dialogue, for open and honest conversations about the issues that matter. It's about empowering marginalized communities and ensuring their voices are heard at all levels of government. Inclusivity isn't just a nice idea, it's a fundamental principle of good governance. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, and that our differences are what make us strong. Ever been in a relationship where trust was broken? It's not a good feeling. The same goes for the relationship between citizens and their governments. Transparency and accountability are the building blocks of that trust. Transparency means the government's actions are open for everyone to see. Think of it like a glass house where citizens can see what's happening inside. No more shady deals behind closed doors. No more decisions made without public input. Everything is out in the open. Accountability goes hand in hand with transparency. It means that leaders are answerable for their actions. If they make promises, they need to keep them. If they make mistakes, they need to own up to them. And if they misuse their power, they need to be held responsible. This is about creating a culture where leaders are accountable to the people they serve. It's about empowering citizens to hold their leaders to a higher standard. When we have transparency and accountability, we have good governance. Africa has a rich history of traditional governance systems. These systems, rooted in our cultures and communities, played a vital role in maintaining order and resolving disputes. Today, As we navigate the complexities of modern governance, it's important to remember the wisdom of our past. Blending traditional practices with modern governance isn't about clinging to outdated ways. It's about recognizing that our traditional leaders often have a deep understanding of their communities and can play a valuable role in bridging the gap between citizens and the state. Imagine a council of elders working alongside elected officials, sharing their wisdom and knowledge to find solutions that work for everyone. Imagine traditional courts working in tandem with the formal justice system to resolve disputes fairly and efficiently. This isn't about replacing modern governance, it's about complementing and strengthening it with the wisdom and experience of our traditions. It's about creating a system that is truly African, drawing on the best of both worlds. Section 5. Tech to the rescue. How technology can empower governance. Remember the days of waiting in endless lines just to pay a simple bill? Technology has changed all that. And guess what? It can do the same for governance. Think about it. Online platforms where citizens can access government services, report issues, and track the progress of their requests. Mobile apps that make it easier to pay taxes, register businesses, or access vital information. The possibilities are endless. Technology can also help to increase transparency and accountability. Imagine a system where all government contracts are published online, making it easy for citizens to track spending and identify corruption. Or imagine a platform where citizens can directly engage with their elected officials, asking questions and holding them accountable. And let's not forget about the power of data. By collecting and analyzing data on everything from public health to education, governments can make better informed decisions and design more effective policies. Technology can be a game changer for governance in Africa, empowering citizens and building trust in government. Section 6. The power of unity. Traditional leaders as partners. In many parts of Africa, traditional leaders command deep respect and influence. They are the custodians of our cultures, the keepers of our histories, and the voices of our communities. And they have a vital role to play in building a better future for Africa. Imagine a chief working with the local government to improve access to healthcare in their village. Or imagine a king using their influence to promote education and empower young people. The possibilities for collaboration are endless. By working together, traditional leaders and elected officials can create a powerful force for positive change. They can bridge the gap between the government and the governed, ensuring that everyone feels heard and represented. This partnership is not without its challenges. But by embracing a spirit of mutual respect and understanding, we can harness the wisdom of our traditions and the power of modern governance to create a brighter future for all. Section 7. Investing in progress, resources for effective governance. Building a better future requires investment, and that's true for governance as well. We need to invest in the institutions, the people, and the systems that will drive progress and prosperity. This means providing adequate funding for essential services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. It means investing in technology to improve efficiency and transparency. And it means supporting the training and development of public servants so they can better serve their communities. But it's not just about money, it's also about investing in our people. We need to create opportunities for young people to develop their skills and contribute to their communities. We need to empower women and ensure their voices are heard at all levels of decision-making. By investing in our people, we invest in our future. We create a virtuous cycle of growth and progress where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Section 8. The youth take charge. Empowering the next generation. Africa has the youngest population in the world. This is our greatest asset. Young people are full of energy, creativity, and a hunger for change. We need to empower them to take charge and shape the future of our continent. This means providing quality education that equips them with the skills they need to succeed in the 21st century. It means creating economic opportunities so they can build a better life for themselves and their families. And it means giving them a seat at the table, listening to their ideas, and valuing their perspectives. Young people are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are the leaders of today. They are already making a difference in their communities, driving innovation and challenging the status quo. We need to support them, encourage them, and give them the tools they need to succeed. By investing in our youth, we invest in the future of Africa. We unleash a wave of talent, creativity, and energy that will transform our continent for generations to come. Section 9. Beyond Borders Collaboration and Regional Integration. In today's interconnected world, the challenges we face in Africa are often interconnected. Climate change, poverty, conflict. These issues don't stop at borders. That's why regional collaboration and integration are essential for building a more prosperous and peaceful Africa. Imagine a future where goods and people move freely across borders, boosting trade and creating economic opportunities for all. Imagine countries working together to manage shared resources like water and energy, ensuring equitable access for all. Regional integration is not about losing our sovereignty, it's about recognizing that we are stronger together. By working together, we can amplify our voices on the global stage, attract investment, and create a more prosperous future for all Africans. Section 10, A Brighter Future. Prosperity through authentic governance. The journey to prosperity begins with good governance. When we have leaders who are accountable, transparent, and responsive to the needs of their people, everything else falls into place. Imagine a future where corruption is a distant memory, where resources are used to benefit all citizens, and where everyone has the opportunity to achieve their full potential. This is the promise of authentic governance. It's a future where Africa is no longer seen as a continent of problems, but as a continent of solutions. A future where we are not defined by our past, but by our hopes, our dreams, and our unwavering belief in a brighter tomorrow. This is the Africa we are fighting for. An Africa where everyone can live in dignity, peace, and prosperity. An Africa that takes its rightful place on the global stage, a beacon of hope and progress for the world to see. Section 11. A call to action, building the Africa we deserve. This isn't just a dream. It's a call to action. Each of us has a role to play in building the Africa we deserve. Whether you're a student, a teacher, a business leader, or a community activist, your voice matters. Get involved in your community. Hold your leaders accountable. Demand transparency and good governance. Support organizations that are working to make a difference. And most importantly, never give up hope. The road ahead may be long, and there will be challenges along the way. But together, we can overcome them. Together, we can build an Africa that is prosperous, peaceful, and a shining example to the world. The future of Africa is in our hands. Let's make it count. Africa is waking up. We see it in the streets, in the music, in the businesses. There's a new energy, a new drive. We need leaders who get it. Leaders who understand Africa's unique challenges and opportunities. Embracing our own traditions of leadership, our own ways of getting things done. We need leaders rooted in our values who understand the importance of community. Leaders who are accountable to the people, true servants of the people. Building a better future for all Africans. This is Africa's time to shine. Now we need the leadership to take us there. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kelvin Jasi. Like, share, and leave a comment on this video. Let's build a better future together. For too long, we've been told that our traditional ways are outdated, that we need to abandon our past to embrace the future. But the truth is, our traditions hold the key to unlocking Africa's potential. Traditional African governance wasn't about power and control. It was about community, about consensus. We need to rediscover these values, to integrate them into our modern systems of governance. This means educating our young people about our history, about the wisdom of our ancestors. Let's reclaim our heritage and build a future worthy of our ancestors. Embracing traditional governance means putting it into practice. Reform our legal frameworks to include traditional principles. Recognize traditional leaders' authority in political systems. They already resolve disputes and maintain order. Create hybrid systems blending both governance styles. The goal is a modern system rooted in African traditions. The African Union has a crucial role to play in promoting governance innovations across the continent. It can serve as a platform for sharing best practices, for developing model legislation, for providing technical assistance to countries seeking to reform their systems of governance. African Union Representative. The AU can also facilitate dialogue between governments and traditional leaders, helping to bridge the divide between these two important sources of authority. It can create incentives for countries to adopt more inclusive and participatory forms of governance, rewarding those that make progress in this area. The AU has the potential to be a powerful force for change, but it needs to be more proactive, more ambitious in its vision for Africa's future. It needs to move beyond rhetoric and take concrete steps to support the implementation of these reforms. It needs to empower its agencies, like the African Court on Human and People's Rights, to uphold the principles of good governance and traditional justice. The AU needs to be a champion for the people, not just for governments. It needs to be a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the marginalized. A strong and effective AU is essential for unlocking Africa's potential. Section 5. Sharing the secrets to success. Africa. Learning from Africa.
African countries have a lot to learn from each other. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can share our experiences, our successes, and our failures. There are already many inspiring examples of countries that are successfully integrating traditional practices into their modern governance systems. Botswana's Kotla system, for example, provides a platform for community members to engage in open dialogue with their leaders. Rwanda's Gakaka courts have played a vital role in post-conflict reconciliation and justice. These are just two examples of the many innovative approaches being pioneered across the continent. We need to create more opportunities for cross-country learning, for policymakers and practitioners to share their knowledge and experiences. The AU can facilitate study tours, exchange programs, and peer-to-peer learning initiatives. We need to move beyond the traditional donor-recipient model and embrace a more collaborative approach to development. Africa has a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. Let's tap into this collective wisdom and build a brighter future together.
Section 6. Investing in our future. Building a legacy of strong leaders.
Building a better future for Africa starts with investing in our young people. We need to provide them with the education and skills they need to become effective and ethical leaders. This means going beyond rote learning and teaching them critical thinking, problem-solving, and leadership skills. It means instilling in them a strong sense of ethics, of integrity, of service to others. We need to create leadership academies and mentorship programs that provide young Africans with the opportunity to learn from experienced leaders, both traditional and modern. These programs should focus on developing practical skills, such as conflict resolution, consensus building, and public speaking. They should also emphasize the importance of cultural sensitivity, of understanding and respecting the diversity of African cultures and traditions. Investing in youth leadership is not just about the future, it's about the present. Young people are already making a difference in their communities, leading the way in innovation, entrepreneurship, and social activism. We need to empower them, to give them a seat at the table, to listen to their ideas and perspectives. They are the future of Africa, and we need to invest in them accordingly.
Section 7. The power of the people. Citizens as partners in progress. Authentic leadership is not a one-way street. It requires active citizenship. Engaged citizens who are informed, empowered, and willing to hold their leaders accountable. We need to create a culture of civic engagement where citizens see themselves as partners in progress, not just passive observers. This means ensuring that citizens have access to information about government policies and programs, that they have a voice in decision-making processes, and that they have the tools and resources they need to hold their leaders accountable. It also means promoting a culture of transparency and accountability within government institutions, making it easier for citizens to track government spending, to report corruption, and to demand better services. We need to move away from the top-down approach to governance and embrace a more participatory, citizen-centric model. When citizens are empowered, when they feel like they have a stake in the future of their country, they are more likely to be active and engaged citizens. They are more likely to demand good governance, to hold their leaders accountable, and to contribute to the development of their communities. Section 8. A continent united, breaking down barriers to collaboration. Africa is a continent of immense diversity, with a rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. But this diversity should be a source of strength, not division. We need to break down the artificial barriers that divide us and work together to build a more united and prosperous Africa. This means strengthening regional integration initiatives, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area, which has the potential to boost intra-African trade and economic growth. It means promoting cultural exchange programs that allow Africans to learn about and appreciate each other's cultures. It means investing in infrastructure projects that connect our countries and facilitate the movement of people, goods, and ideas. A united Africa is a stronger Africa. When we work together, we can achieve anything. We can overcome our challenges, we can unlock our potential, and we can create a brighter future for all Africans. Let's embrace our diversity, celebrate our shared heritage, and build a continent that is truly united. Section 9. From Challenges to Opportunities. Turning the Tide on Corruption. Corruption is a cancer that eats away at the fabric of our societies. It undermines trust in government, discourages investment, and perpetuates poverty and inequality. But we can't just talk about fighting corruption. We need to take concrete steps to address its root causes. This means strengthening institutions, promoting transparency and accountability, and creating a culture of integrity. It also means empowering citizens to hold their leaders accountable and to demand better governance. We need to make corruption the exception, not the norm. We need to create a climate where corruption is not only unacceptable, but also unprofitable. This requires a multifaceted approach that involves governments, civil society, the private sector, and ordinary citizens. It requires strong leadership, political will, and a commitment to change. But the rewards are immense. A corruption-free Africa is a prosperous Africa. An Africa where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. Let's turn the tide on corruption and build a brighter future for all. Section 10. The world is watching. Africa's rise to global leadership. The world is watching Africa. They see a continent on the rise, a continent with immense potential. But they also see a continent grappling with challenges, with poverty, conflict, and poor governance. We have a choice to make. We can continue to be defined by our challenges, or we can rise to meet them, to show the world what Africa is truly capable of. We have the opportunity to be a beacon of hope, a model for other developing countries. We can show the world that it is possible to achieve sustainable development, to build strong and inclusive institutions, and to create a more just and equitable world. This is our moment. Let's seize it. Section 11. A call to action. Let's build the Africa we deserve. The path forward is clear. We need to embrace African governance, to rediscover the wisdom of our traditions, and to build a future where leadership is about service, not power. This is not a task for governments alone. It requires a collective effort, a movement of the people. It requires each and every one of us to step up and play our part. Educate yourself about traditional African governance. Support organizations that are working to promote good governance and empower communities. Hold your leaders accountable and demand better. Be the change you want to see in the world. The future of Africa is in our hands. Let's build the Africa we deserve, an Africa that is prosperous, peaceful, and just. Let's show the world what Africa is truly capable of. Africa stands at a crossroads, with the opportunity to redefine its governance systems in ways that are deeply rooted in its unique cultural heritage and social realities. By embracing indigenous governance models, African countries can foster more authentic leadership, social cohesion, and sustainable development. This book calls for a thoughtful and deliberate approach to building governance systems that truly reflect the values and aspirations of African people. Conclusion: embracing African governance, a path to authentic leadership and prosperity.